Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Jesse Montano here. This is another episode of Guerilla Sports Daily, brought to you by our good friends over at Trusted American Mortgage. Their salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly mortgage payment. Go to trustedamerican.com or scan the QR code on the screen. See how much money they can help you save today. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Jesse Montano here, kicking off a snowy and kind of gross Tuesday morning here in Denver, in the Mile High City. Fun game last night down at Ball Arena. We were there as the Colorado Avalanche were taking on the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, for the second time this season. And it was a fun one. It turned into what Florida Panthers coach Paul Maurice said in the morning. He hoped it didn't, which was a goalie duel. Sergei Bobrovsky, Mackenzie Blackwood went head to head. We'll talk about that. We're going to get into what's going on with the Denver Nuggets. They will take on the defending NBA champion Boston Celtics here tonight. Real quick, just because I'm already going through it, and I know if I don't bring it up now, I'm going to forget to bring it up later in the show, and then I'm going to be mad at myself, and I'll be in the office later telling everyone, I can't believe I forgot. Our very own Brandon Cristal has been beating this drum now for the last 48 hours. Denver Broncos knock off the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Look, they knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs. Doesn't matter if it was the B squad or not. They knock off the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Defending Super Bowl champions. Colorado Avalanche take down the Florida Panthers last night, defending Stanley Cup champions. And the Denver Nuggets are going to get a crack at the Boston Celtics, the defending NBA champions, tonight. So on 3 consecutive days, there is the possibility that Colorado teams could knock off the defending champs in each of the respective leagues, like I said, on 3 consecutive nights. Kind of just an interesting factoid storyline to watch for the Nuggets here tonight. So that's going down tonight at Ball Arena. And then we are gearing up. Speaking of snowy and gross and cold, we are gearing up this week for the Denver Broncos to travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills in the first round of the playoffs. Yes, something we haven't been able to say in almost a decade. They end the 9-year drought. We will talk about that as well. And then I'm excited for this weekend. We got something fun coming to town. PWHL making a visit to Denver. We are going to talk about that briefly as well here to round out the show. Blackwood's comment post-game about Bobrovsky being his goalie idol. Very classy. We are going to talk about it. Don't you worry. I'm with you. I loved it. I loved hearing from him. I love those candid moments that we can sometimes get from players. Where they, paying some respect to the guy opposite them. And yeah, last night you could definitely tell was a moment for Mackenzie Blackwood. He said he always treasures anytime he gets to go head to head with Sergei Bobrovsky, and he certainly did that well last night. But let's start here off the top. The Denver Nuggets, coming off what a lot of folks I saw were saying was potentially the game of the year. A back-to-back with the San Antonio Spurs. And let me just say first, I saw so many Nuggets fans very upset about the fact that the Denver Nuggets were playing here in Denver against the Spurs on Friday, January 3rd, and then played again the next night in San Antonio on the 4th against that same Spurs team. I saw a bunch of NBA and Nuggets fans really upset with schedule makers that they did something like this. And for me, a guy who grew up around the NHL watching hockey, this is a home and home, folks. This is for many, many years in the NHL, very standard practice. Two divisional opponents, two conference opponents would play 2 games back to back in each other's respective cities. That was something that was the norm, especially during the days there in the late 2000s into the early 2010s when the NHL was experimenting with division heavy schedules. Teams were playing within their division as many as 8 against divisional opponents, as many as 8 times in a season. You would see home and homes on the regular. But both of them ended up being just outstanding games. 113 to 110. The San Antonio Spurs took the game here in Denver, and the Nuggets the next night go on the road and win 122-111 in overtime. It was the Wemby show. It was the Jokic show. And they talked about, each other after the game, just immense respect for the other player. I remember when Wemby was coming in to the NBA and he was playing in the preseason, and it wasn't overly spectacular, right? Good player, made some nice plays here and there, but a lot of people started to say, maybe we overhyped this kid. I don't know about that. He looks like the real deal. Talked a lot about how Nikola Jokic was a guy that he looked up to, wants to emulate his style of play, and boy, oh boy, were these fun games as these two teams went head to head. We talk a lot about Jamal Murray needing to be someone that really helps drive the bus and move it forward. In these games, particularly the most recent one in San Antonio, was it the point totals that we had seen from the week before? No, but doing his part, eating big minutes, finding ways to contribute. We said it last week, and I stole the line from Liv Mood, so I don't really get much credit on it at all. This team goes as Jamal Murray goes. Can't all be Jokic. You got to have these complementary players, coming in behind, providing that support, and being able to pick up the non-Jokic minutes. We have seen such a problem with the Denver Nuggets, not just this season, but over the last number. Those non-Jokic minutes have been a problem. It's maybe even been one of his leading cases for why he's the MVP of the league 3 times out of 4 years. When he's not on the floor, this team struggles. But 46 points for Nikola Jokic a couple nights ago in San Antonio. They'll be taking on the Celtics tonight. Another tough test. But Michael Malone became the winningest coach in Denver Nuggets history with that win. This is a guy that I really do think has been a legitimate difference maker for this organization. Yes, obviously Nikola Jokic, 3-time MVP, playoff MVP. He's one of the maybe the main reason that they were able to win an NBA championship, but I don't think you can discount what Michael Malone has done for the organization.
Can you take us through that moment? That just happened. They bring in that jersey for you. What you think when you see it? Where's it going to hang? All the things.
Oh man, I have no idea. It's really cool, obviously, and for it to happen on a day where both Stan and Josh are here, and for them to say congratulations, I'm like, congratulations, man. I just say thank you for allowing me to be here. And I always go back to the game 82 in Minnesota, where 95 of any sports team owner would have fired me. But as Mr. K said, he goes, we understand that this is always a process, and you have to give things the time they need to fully develop. And that's a direct result of that kind of sound judgment and a belief from ownership. But yeah, Cal and the booth have that made, so obviously really appreciate the gesture. It came out really nice. I guess I'll have to get another one made when I'm done that says like 1,273. Hell no. But yeah, really nice, really cool. I have to figure out where to put it.
They present him with a jersey for becoming the winningest coach in Nuggets history. And I'm going to talk about the Broncos next, but there's a parallel here between Michael Malone and Jared Bednar, who we are going to talk about. Someone that I have for many years now, if you followed my work, followed our shows, have heard me say that Jared Bednar is the type of guy that you bring into your organization, you keep him for as long as you possibly can. I felt for multiple years before the Avs got over the hump to win the Stanley Cup was the right guy for the job. And part of that was the Cronkies needing to show patience. And so to hear Michael Malone, who, again, when he got to town and they went through that game 82 that you just heard Malone reference, where they lose on the last game of the season and miss the playoffs. And he said, look, 95% of owners probably would have come in and fired the coach. But they said, look, we understand that this takes patience. We understand that this is a process, and simply moving on and starting the process over isn't going to get us any closer to where we want to be. You have to give ownership credit here when you're talking about Michael Malone and Jared Bednar, who we'll talk about in a little bit. Identifying the right person, putting their trust in them, and then getting out of their way and letting them do the job that they were hired to do and that they are trusted to do. And it leads to the results that you're seeing now in NBA, the first ever NBA championship in franchise history, a 3-time MVP on your roster, and now the winningest coach in franchise history. Awesome stuff for Michael Malone and the Denver Nuggets. And again, you just ownership here. I get there's a lot of fans that don't like some of the stuff that the Cronkies do public facing. I have never heard a bad thing about working within that organization. And again, they get the right people in, they trust them to do their jobs, and they say, go do them. We understand there's patience involved. We understand there's a process involved. We brought you in because we trust you and we believe in you. Go do your job. And that's what has bred the results that we've seen from the Nuggets and the Avalanche. And the results that it feels like we are finally starting to see out of the Denver Broncos. And yes, we are going to talk about Sean Payton as well. I've got my personal qualms with the way that Sean Payton deals with the media, but you cannot deny the fact, the impact that a veteran head coach like Sean Payton, who has been there, done that, has on this young Bronco team. We'll get into that in just a minute. I want to talk a little bit about Bo Nix. I talked in the lead up to the game this past week, that the Denver Broncos could not approach this game as if all they needed to do was show up. It was well reported ahead of time that the Kansas City Chiefs would be sitting the majority of their starters. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce would not be in the lineup. And they were activating guys off the practice squad, et cetera, et cetera. But, we talked about the fact that this is the NFL. These are all professional players. And you are dealing with a team that has a championship pedigree and has been there, done that, won. They're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, right? The habits are there. Andy Reid is still coaching the team. And we were saying, look, if the Denver Broncos think that they are purely just going to show up and waltz their way to a victory and send themselves off to the playoffs, well, it was going to be a really tough Sunday. You give Bo Nix all the credit in the world. Bo Nix spent last week, you can tell, preparing as if this was the biggest game of his career, because it was up to this point. Now, because of the result, he gets to play in the next biggest game of his career. But that this was a moment he understood he could not take for granted. He could not overlook. He couldn't start planning on getting to Buffalo next weekend before having gone out and taken care of business against a depleted Kansas City Chiefs roster. Bo Nix came out, went 18 for 18 to start the game, went on to have one of the highest completion percentages in a game for a rookie quarterback in NFL history, and was outstanding and led his team to a dominant 38-0 victory over the backup Chiefs to punch their ticket to the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. That game, to me, by itself, instilled more confidence in the process, this rebuild, and what the Denver Broncos have in Bo Nix than maybe the entire rest of the season combined. Because, yeah, if you dig too far into the numbers, they went 9-1 against non-playoff teams, 1-6 against teams that are going to the postseason. The one being the final game of the year where they played against the Kansas City Chiefs that weren't really the Kansas City Chiefs. This is still a young team still trying to figure out how to make their way in this league, how to stack wins, how to play in those pressure moments. What Bo Nix showed this past week was that he at least understands that process and understands how to prepare for those moments. It was a special performance from him, but it was such an encouraging performance in the maturity of a young player understanding the moment. I personally felt like Bo Nix got a little bit swallowed up by the pressure the couple weeks before. I thought he played well in the Cincinnati game overall, kept giving his team one more chance, kept him alive, one more drive. They needed one more touchdown, and he answered the bell on all of that. But when it came right down to it, it felt like the pressure maybe became a little bit too much for him, particularly in that game against the Chargers. And you wondered how he'd respond in the final week of the season when it was, you knew the Bengals had won the night before. You had to win. It was win and you were in, lose and you go home. And he showed up with his best performance of the year. Like I said, when you look too closely at it, you are reminded this is a young team, but that's where it helps having a guy like Sean Payton at the helm.
Man, we look forward to the challenge. They've had a great season. We're familiar with certainly the travel. The last time we were there, it felt like we were there 7 days. We played them Monday night. We got out there Friday. Our plane was delayed. But look, they're a real good football team, and that's why they're the 2 seed. And we're going to have a great week of preparation, and we'll get ready to go.
When you hear him say having a great week of preparation, everything that I'm talking about right now is what gives you the confidence that they will have the right week of preparation. And you also can't help but draw the tie between the maturity that we're seeing out of Bo Nix and the veteran leadership of a guy like Sean Payton, who none of these moments are going to be too big for him. None of these moments are going to be moments that he hasn't been in before. It felt like the issue with Sean Payton last year was that you had him and Russell Wilson both trying to be the veteran leader of the group and maybe even sending conflicting messages at times. This year, Sean Payton understands his role and the fact that he's steering a ship full of young players, a roster that at the beginning of the season, when Pro Football Focus, PFF, ranked them as the 32nd best roster, a conversation that I had with our very own Nate Jackson was, look, these types of projections are based on the roster and what the team has done in the past. Well, the Denver Broncos roster was full of young players and players that had never played together before. So how were you supposed to fairly evaluate them and rank them any higher than dead last when it was full of a bunch of unknowns? Sean Payton has taken a team full of young players trying to figure out how to play in this league, how to build a winning culture, and not only how to build a winning culture, but how to shed the previous losing culture that had festered in Denver for 8 years. Sean Payton has done an outstanding job of that, and this past weekend was the example of how much his experience has rubbed off on his young quarterback and leader of this team. It's going to be interesting to see what they do this week. Like I said, at the end of the day, just being honest, they were 1-6 against playoff teams. The Buffalo Bills are a team that looks like they are on a mission to finally get to the Super Bowl and bring a championship back to the city of Buffalo. I don't feel like you are going to catch the Bills sleeping. This is not a team that has an excuse to be complacent. But I do believe that the Denver Broncos are going to give them a good game, regardless of what the outcome is. And I also believe that the Broncos could go out and lose 58-0. And this season is still an overwhelming success that you can take so many good things out of and build going forward. This is the first step forward in a proper rebuild. The Denver Broncos have not been rebuilding for the last 8 years. They've been trying to find a way to put together a product that would put butts in seats. That was the only goal. New ownership, new coaching, new management have come in and have properly kicked off a rebuild. And this is the first step towards a successful rebuild. It's getting into the playoffs, getting that experience for your young players in high pressure situations and moments where the intensity and the eyeballs and the attention is all dialed up. They got their first taste of that this past weekend, and they passed the test. Now what can they do this coming week in Buffalo? Let's talk a little bit about the Colorado Avalanche here, and we are going to have another off-ice pod coming up this afternoon, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, but they do knock off the Florida Panthers last night, drive their point streak to 8 games here, and are sitting at 52 points at the halfway mark. At one point, this Avalanche team was 13-14 as they fell 1 game below 500. They're currently 25-15-1. So since that moment where they dropped below 500, they're 12-1-1. Not bad. And a lot of that is on the back of Mackenzie Blackwood, who was outstanding again last night, facing off against, as we saw in the comments earlier, one of his goalie idols.
Not even been a month since the trade, and you're up to 7 wins now. Just how much fun are you having?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, team's playing great in front of me. Responsible hockey, scoring on their chances, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of.
Shots are 16-4 at one point in that game. Knowing that you guys are playing such a talented team, how do you stay in that one?
I think that's just experience. Years ago I would struggle a lot more in games like that because, too much downtime, too many lulls. But, the longer I've been playing, the better I am at, just staying in the moment and, staying with the game no matter, kind of what's going on.
Has this team changed kind of your confidence knowing that I think this is 2-3 games in a row where it's like 20, 21 shots, 22 shots. Like, has this team changed your confidence back there knowing that when you guys go down early, it doesn't really matter?
I mean, I would say they give me confidence in, the game. Like, we go down early. I know if I do my job, we're going to still be in the game no matter what. So, I mean, every night, they're playing so well, so offensively talented. Not every single night it's going to be the case, but most of the time, if you do your job, they're going to come out with a win.
Players would say that a good penalty kill starts with its goaltender. What are some of the keys on your end when you are on the kill?
I would say just being aware of what's going on, knowing their options, and not getting too locked in on one guy, and just kind of staying patient back there and trying to take in, where all the guys are, so nothing surprises you.
There's a couple of elite defenders on that back end there. How fun is it to just get to watch a guy like Cale Makar, Devon Taves up close?
Yeah, those guys are unreal. I've said it before. I'll say it again. They're special players and fun to watch.
Despite the score, an amazing goaltender on the other side of the ice too. What can you say about a guy like Bobrovsky?
Bob's been my idol since I started pro hockey. So whenever I get a chance to watch her play against him, it's special for me.
Mackenzie Blackwood has completely changed everything about the trajectory of this Avalanche season. Still a lot of season to go. We're only at the halfway mark. There's 41 more games to go here. He's got to keep it up. But what a breath of fresh air Mackenzie Blackwood has been for the Colorado Avalanche. Last thing I'm going to do to put a bow on this talk about coaching is I do want to play again a couple minute long clip from Jared Bednar from a few nights ago. We talk about we've talked on this show about the impact on this episode that we've done right now is what I'm saying, but the impact that these coaches in Colorado have had on 2 championships in the last handful of years and one team that looks like they are heading in the right direction and maybe have found a quarterback that is going to be here for the next 10, 15 years and make this team a contender. What Jared Bednar has done for the Colorado Avalanche, I think, is one of the most impressive things that we've seen in pro sports in recent memory. Took what was the worst team in modern NHL history and has turned them in one season into in one season's time, back several years ago, into perennial Stanley Cup contenders and won Stanley Cup championship, and has taken a group this year that has been so depleted, so injured, so much fluctuation in the lineup, so much turnover on the roster. They started the season with two completely different goalies than what they have now, and have turned them into a team that is top 10 in the league at the halfway mark. And it's because of the way that he understands this team.
The referee said it wasn't blown because we put their guy into Scott. I said, I don't give a shit. He's hurt. They're standing there. He's sitting there. He's hurt. Blow the whistle. If the puck's in the net front still and they were hacking away at it and it goes in, I'd say fine. But as soon as the puck squirts to the corner, they got to blow it dead. They do it all the time for regular players because of player safety. The rule would state that we have to touch it, but they don't follow that rule. They never follow that rule. 2 games ago, we were in the offensive zone. One of their players was down in the slot, and we were passing around, and Cale Makar's coming downhill for a one-timer, and they blow it dead. Take away a scoring chance, what could be a possible extending of a lead, and they blow it because the player's laying there hurt in a shooting lane. So it's the same thing for the goalie. If he's hurt and he's not getting up, and they can evaluate that, and they're standing right there looking at it, the whistle should go. It's just that simple. It's not. Did I think it was goalie interference? No, it's not goalie interference because we bumped him in. He turned the wrong way and we bumped into him and he went into our goalie. But when the goalie's hurt, you blow the whistle. That's what happens all the time with players in every zone. And yeah, it happened in the first period with me and Darlene. Darlene goes down and they blow it dead because he's still down. It happened last game for us, and the game before that, and the game before that happens once a game. I bet you. And for them to just let it go and then allow the goal is insanity to me. It's a player safety thing. If they would have loaded up Darlene for a one-timer for a 105-mile-an-hour slap shot, they're just going to let it fucking happen with our goalie down in the net? Can't do it. Can't do it. You got to blow it dead.
How's Scott? Any update on
Well, I don't know. We'll get him evaluated. He's going to miss some time.
Was that challenge a bit of a process? You said you
Yeah, it gives him another chance to do the right thing. The goal shouldn't have counted, and so, yeah, I was mad, so we just did it.
Everyone is still worth 2 points, but did that one feel a little better just given everything leading up to it?
It felt great because our guys dug in and they got the win. Like, we needed that win and we wanted that win, and I think that play, like, everyone on the team's pissed off, and then so, they dig in extra hard and make it happen. I was glad to see them get rewarded. It looks good on our guys. I thought it was an unbelievable effort, especially down the stretch.
Are you surprised you got such a weak explanation from the referee?
No, and listen, this isn't against the 2 refs that called the game tonight. Like it's just like it's the inconsistency in that call. It seems pretty common sense to me, right? Like, what are you gonna it's hurt, the puck, he's hurt, the puck goes to the corner, he's not getting up, clearly not getting up. Just blow it dead. By the time that puck got cycled behind the net, it should have been called. So it's, when you're doing it for every other player on the ice, but you're not going to do it for the goalie, makes no sense to me.
That's a coach that is in his player's corner. Always. I've covered Jared Bednar for a long time now. I've never seen him upset like that. I've never seen him stick with an issue like that throughout his entire presser. That's someone who is in the fight with his guys every single night. And it's why his players compete for him the way that they do. And it's the reason that they battle every single night, despite the circumstances, the way that they do. The point I'm making here on this show is there are some special coaches here in Colorado that are making special things happen for their organizations. Gonna round things out real quick, guys, and I'm actually heading over to Avs practice here. PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, is coming to Denver this weekend on Sunday. I know, right after the Bronco game, down at Ball Arena, the Minnesota Frost will be taking on the Montreal Victory at Ball Arena in a tour that the PWHL is doing. And I'll tell you guys right now, it is a market test for expansion. They're going to a bunch of different cities, and it sounds like the league is wanting to add a few teams over the next handful of years. And Denver is one of the teams that is in consideration as the league wants to move out west. So if you want to see professional women's hockey here in the future, make sure you're showing up this weekend. Guerilla Sports will be there. We've got a lot of awesome things planned for the weekend. I'll bring you guys all kinds of content from there. We've been very lucky to be able to work with the Minnesota Frost in the past. And Nicole Hensley, Denver's own Nicole Hensley, goaltender for the Minnesota Frost, Team USA goaltender, Olympic gold medalist, is coming home to play this weekend. It's going to be awesome to get to see her play in Denver at Ball Arena, where she's been honored before for her Olympic achievements, things like that. It's going to be great to see Nicole back in town. We've got a whole bunch of awesome stuff planned, so make sure you are checking out the PWHL Minnesota game. PWHL game between Minnesota and Montreal coming to town this week. Guys, I'm going to go brave the roads, get to the Avs practice facility, and see what's going on with the Avs here today. Thank you all so much for tuning in, hanging out this morning. Stay warm, stay safe if you're heading out and you're here in Denver. But thank you guys all so much, and we will talk to you all later. See ya.